Okay. I believe we're live now. Hello, 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 everyone. Oh, I got a little shadow from the mic, huh? This is Dr. Garrett Smith of the Nutrition Detective live stream, the Love Your Liver live stream, and we are back for another episode. Today, we are doing all subscriber Q&A. So if you're a subscriber, a YouTube subscriber Q&A. So if you're here on YouTube, we're going to be looking at those chats, going through them. I start with whatever chats are there, and if super chats pop up, then I take those get priority. So if you have something to add, I'm going to hopefully, Joe, my background guy, my help guy in the back, he taught me how to pop out a chat window from YouTube so I can keep track of it better, because the live stream chat was a disaster. And then another thing Joe and I are working on is I'm going to get an earpiece. I'm going to make sure it looks like Agent Smith from The Matrix, with the little curly thing, because I like irony and stuff like that. So I found some, I just haven't gotten it yet. So anyway, let's get started. And if you don't know, all of my social media and all of the links to find my stuff are down in the base. I have a couple of plans coming up that I know fans will get excited about. I'm going to, in the Love Your Liver program, I'm going to start doing weekly updates again to various topics. So I'm going to be recording a live video for the people who are in the Love Your Liver program, who want to and are able to listen. I'm going to be transcribing that. I'm going to be distilling it into the major ideas, and then I'm going to be re-recording a video based on the distilled ideas. So I have a plan for it now, and so it'll be exciting. So let's get to the chats. Let me open up my other chat window. Wow, that's I see the chats like rolling along. Okay, so let's see. There was a good question. Oh, Fabuladium to start out. Asks, hi, Dr. Smith, what salt is best if Himalayan/Redmond salt should be avoided due to rust? Which, if you don't know, I know Fabuladium knows because he's been watching, obviously, or he, she, whatever. You want to hear something funny? I went to a salsa class, and they're even changing it from, instead of, they would say, because Latin languages are very gendered, if you will. And they used to say, in the dance class, they'd say hombres and mujeres for men and women. And now they have to say leaders and followers because it's all mixed up. And I just think it's silly as all get out. Anyway, so he, she, I'm trying to respect I don't know whether I'm talking to a man or a woman here, because I just know the Fabuladium. Anyway, should be avoided due to rust. Yes, the red color, the pink color of pink salt and the red color of Redmond salt is rust. Rust is red. So you're eating rust if you are using those salts. They are nothing magical for health. They do contain mercury. They do contain heavy metals. Just always remember, anything that says it contains all the trace minerals, by definition, contains all the toxic minerals. By definition, they say it contains all the trace minerals. How many useful minerals do you think there are? I'm just going, I know Fabuladium, you probably know this because you're a regular watcher, but you're saying, I'm worried about microplastics in sea salts like Celtic sea salt. Absolutely. All the oceans are connected. So if somebody says, we have a pure spot of ocean. No, you don't. No, you don't. I don't like that shadow. Hold on one second. I'm going to fix that little shadow that's bothering me. Hold on. Let me do my... There we go. I don't like that mic shadow on my face. Okay. As Pierre answered the question. Pierre's up on our stuff very well. I like Jacobsen salt. It seems to be the cleanest salt out there. They test for... here's what you want. You want a processed salt. As Pierre mentions also, you want it to be refined. They do not bleach salt. Sometimes the health food world just says stupid ass things. They don't bleach salt. It doesn't take much for them to separate out all the other minerals from the sodium chloride, okay? They don't bleach it. They never did. I'm not saying Fabulating that you believe that. I'm just telling everybody. refining salt is not like an intense process, like an intense chemical process. I think Crystal Diamond goes over it, but from everything I've seen, Jacobsen salt does the best refining, and they will show you tests that there's no lead in their salt and there's no others. I think they talk about microplastics. If you're eating unrefined sea salt these days, you are eating toxic metals and microplastics. It's in the literature. I mean, here, wait, let me see if I can find it, Joe. Don't switch over until I find it. But let's go microplastics sea salt. Yeah, here we go. Preliminary investigation, Joe. Oh, let me see if I need to share my screen again the right way. There we go. Should be good now. So, preliminary investigation of microplastics in the production process of sea salt sourced from the Bohai Sea, China, using an optimized and consistent approach. I mean, yes, it's China, but does anybody think that any waters in the world, it's all being shared. All the oceans are connected, right? That's kind of why they're called oceans. Yeah, so I use Jacobsen salt. It is the cleanest I found. It is a bit more pricey, but I think I saw John Dickinson say in the comments that he finds, or was it Zendog? I don't remember, that they use a little bit less. I mean, first of all, folks, to save yourself, can you eat too much salt? Yes, you can eat too much salt. If other people around you are telling you that like you're eating a ton of salt, you probably are. Okay, and that's not necessarily good for you. I had a guy come to me once in my messages and he's like, I was eating 25 grams of salt a day and now I'm all messed up and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to balance it out. And I said, well, maybe you should do a hair mineral analysis so we could look at all your minerals and we could balance them out. And he said, no, I don't need to do that. I just need to know how to balance myself out again. And I was like, you're saying the same thing that I'm trying to tell you. It's like the guy who thought he was going to cure himself from his vitamin D toxicity or vitamin A toxicity by giving himself a bunch of vitamin D, and he made himself both vitamin A and vitamin D toxic. If you have high blood pressure and you know you eat tons of salt, there's possibly a connection, okay? If you don't eat any potassium and you have high blood pressure, there's probably a connection. If you're eating toxic salt, John says he's looking forward to the Agent Smith earpiece. Yes. I mean, I want to do it. You know, I always wanted the cell phone I always wanted before we got into big screen smartphones was I wanted the slide, the one from the Matrix. Like I love the one where it pops and it slides out, and I'll get so I'll do the Agent Smith earpiece. I'm hoping to start doing some more shorter content, simple ideas that we go over on here a lot, where I'm getting a new phone and a new camera on the phone, and I'm hoping to set up a nice place where I can just, if ideas come to mind, I can just make a quick video and it'll go on, you know, the TikTok and the Instagram and the Reels and all that stuff. So, you know, got to live with the times, got to get the message out there somehow. So anyway, Kirkland salt, if you can't manage the Jacobsen salt, Kirkland sea salt is refined, and it is it's fairly clean. Some people say that, you know, the lead mama or whatever, she did her investigation into salts, and she said that the testing level. So this was kind of I didn't feel like the article was completely honest, because some of the companies, they test for lead down to a certain level. And because they didn't test as well as they wanted, they said, well, they only test to this level, so they're worse. And I'm like, but you don't know the amount that was in the salt. They could have a terrible test and not have any lead in the salt. Like, that doesn't imply, you know what I mean? So anyway, so the Kirkland sea salt is very well priced. It is very fine. If you want a finely ground salt, that's one. Jacobsen salt tests all their salts, I believe. And they have an imported finely ground salt for shakers and stuff like that. Or you can get the coarse ground salt, which is what I use more of, where you can sprinkle it on. Oh, the thing I was saying about salts, put it on your food when the food is cooked. I know You watch all the cooking shows on TV and they'll add salt as they're cooking. And I'm like, here's what adding salt as you're cooking tends to do. You simply add more salt. The salt you add during cooking, you don't taste very much. So then you add more salt at the end because it still doesn't taste the way you want it. And now you've got all this extra salt. And when if you just put the salt on the food when it's done, it's almost like it's more towards the surface. And so you taste it quicker. So you don't need as much. Okay. I'm not against salt. The rules on sea salt. Here's the simple rules. Can we get better salt than others? Yeah, sure. But here's the simple rules on salt. You want it to be bright white in color. You don't want it gray like Celtic salt. You don't want it red. You don't want blue flecks in it like Redmond. You don't want pink salt. You don't want red salt. You want white salt. Bright white. You want it to have one ingredient. Could say salt. It could say sea salt. It could say sodium chloride. Some of them label it differently. And then you want to salt your food to taste. But also you want to pay attention to if everybody's looking at you like, dude, you're adding like crazy amounts of salt to your food, you may want to reevaluate that. Now, on the other note, I'm going to tell you the people who I have found it almost impossible to help over time are the people who tell me I got used to as a kid, like not adding salt because salt was bad and my mom wouldn't let us add salt to the food and she never salted the food. And so I don't add salt anymore. I don't have any taste for it. I'm like, if you don't start adding a little bit of salt to your food, you're not going to get better. I've seen it over and over and over and over again. You need to add some salt to your food. It doesn't have to be crazy amounts, but not adding any is a sure route to feeling bad. That's what I've seen. Okay. So that's what we do. If you get into the Love Your Liver program, I talk about 50-50 salt, which is a mixture of potassium chloride and sodium chloride with a special ingredient to help with the flavor. Because potassium chloride by itself can have, depending upon your taste buds, can be a little bitter or metallic. So anyway, yeah. So that's the Jacobsen and the Kirkland salt. Those are the ones I found to be the best. I do like the flake salt from Jacobsen, and I got a ceramic salt grinder. I don't think it does anything magical. You're just grinding it into smaller pieces, but it feels fancy, right? So we got that. Okay, we got Ramon, the forever super chat man, asks, "Hi, Dr. Smith. So thank you for the super chat, Ramon. When should a man donate blood? Who should and shouldn't? How often, if at all? What are the positives and negatives? Thank you." Well, that's a big question. First of all, what do you not want to do? If you as a person, if you know that every time you donate blood, you feel terrible afterwards. Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, then don't do that. I had a guy with a 500 ferritin, and he donated blood, and he felt significantly worse. He said, every time I donate blood, I feel worse. And I said, well, if you want to try it, I told him already, I said, I always ask people when I see their ferritin, if it's high, I say, are you willing and able to donate blood? It's okay to say no. I specifically say it's okay to say no. So if people are like, adrenochrome, I'm not donating blood, I'm like, fine, cool, no problem. No, whatever. I don't care. When you take out a chunk of blood, you are taking out a chunk of good and bad. Whatever's in the blood, for better or worse, you're taking out a chunk of it. Can this help get some of your toxicity down faster? Sure. Let's say if you take out enough good that you feel worse, well, then that's not helping now, is it? We use this. We try to use this here. So if you don't feel good when you give your blood, they probably took something out of you that they shouldn't have. Now, there are groups out there, protocol, who will have people donate blood over and over and over again without using a ferritin number to guide their donations because they can't order blood tests or they don't order blood tests. And they'll have people getting down to obscenely low ferritins and blood iron, which they're not measuring. They're looking at hair tests alone. And people feel worse and worse and worse after each blood donation. You know what they get told? Oh, you're just detoxing iron. Just keep donating until people quit or they get kicked out of the Facebook group because they keep coming back and saying, I feel worse, I feel worse, I feel worse. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And they keep getting told, keep doing the same thing. The definition of insanity. Okay. I will get to that super chat. So let me get to this. So if you are not I want ferritin between 30 to 70 eventually. Okay. We can get people there by fixing their liver. I did a whole ferritin episode. So for those of you who are interested in ferritin, go watch my whole long ferritin episode. First of all, ferritin is only made in the liver, which means that if you have ferritin in your blood, it is one of the many potential signs that you're leaking bile into your blood. There should not be ferritin in your blood. I'm not saying, okay, now here's the bad approach. Now there's another scientist out there who talked about zero ferritin in the blood is the way it should be. Don't should on yourself, okay? In a perfect world, in perfect health, maybe there's zero ferritin in the blood. You live in the real world. You're probably a Westerner here with me, right? Watching YouTube. And you're exposed to all sorts of unhealthy crap all day long. You were injected as a child. You were given pharma meds. You took supplements that hurt you worse. Maybe you did the liver fad, the carrot salad fad, and all these other silly things. High dose vitamin D. And you did all these silly things that hurt you. You're not in a perfect world anymore. So you don't sit there and go, well, I'm going to try to force my ferritin down to zero by donating blood all the time. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not how you get your ferritin down. If your liver makes ferritin, and the only way the ferritin gets into the blood is via the bile leaking, what is the root cause? It's the bile leaking into your blood. That's what we fix here. So over time, we see ferritins go down into range. And if you have chronically low ferritin and low blood iron, I just had 2 clients this week who we just got their ferritin up into the normal range, my normal range, for the first time ever. Now, is it possible that a person who has had long-term high ferritin and a person who has long-term low ferritin, as we get them into what I believe is the normal range over time, that then as they get even healthier, that both of them can have their ferritin go down even lower than my normal range? Yes. But what is the difference between what I'm doing here and what other people are doing by trying to jam their ferritin? Do you know that? So if you have hemochromatosis, iron overload, and you go to the doctor and they put you on a regimen of blood donations, is that fixing the root cause of anything? No, it's not fixing anything. Sorry, let me check. I need to make sure I'm not getting... Of course. So we can do some donations to get your ferritin down. Forcing it more than you need to. I mean, I give people, just so you know, when I work with people in my consults, I give them, like, in the next 6 months, based on their ferritin, I'll say you could donate once, you could donate twice, or you could even donate up to 3 times in the next 6 months. I give them like a maximum. Some people do it. Some people don't. Some people feel hugely better after some of those donations. Some people feel worse. I already gave them the advice. You feel worse, don't keep doing it. But if you do something silly, like you go in to donate blood and you haven't eaten that day, or you're dehydrated and you feel bad, that shouldn't be surprising. Like, I tell people how to prep in my test consult prep videos. I tell them, if I tell you to go donate, here's what you do before. And if you want to have a snack afterwards and you don't want to eat General Mills genetically modified garbage afterwards, you're going to have to take your own snack afterwards. And it's a good thing to have a snack afterwards. So if you're this goes for men and women. If you know you don't have a chronic history of anemia, and your blood seems to be pretty okay, or you have higher than, normal or high iron levels, ferritin, serum iron, whatever. If you're not monitoring them regularly, like every 6 months, I give people the okay to donate once every 6 months. Okay. So Ramon, you say, when should a man donate blood? I don't should on people. You could donate if you're not running ferritin on at least a twice a year basis. You could donate once every 6 months, in my opinion, without causing a problem. Okay. So who should and shouldn't? If you know you have ferritin that's high, especially over 100, donating blood is a valid choice. Do I care about the normal ferritin range on blood tests? No, I don't care about their normal range. They don't care if you're sick, right? You're just getting old. Oh, it's all in your head. They don't care if you're sick. I've had people tell me, I had a guy, he grew up in New Zealand eating, grass-fed lamb and grass-fed beef and all the dairy and stuff. And he had, his ferritin was like 500 something. He actually said, I told him to go donate every 2 months for the next probably half a year, couple years, because it was going to take that long to get his ferritin down. He said while he was sitting there in the middle of a blood donation, he felt what he described as a crack within his body. And then he said for the first time, he had migraines every single day. And then all of a sudden he didn't have migraines for 3 straight days. He said, this is the longest I've ever not had migraines. And that started during his blood donation. I've had people tell me they feel amazing after their blood donations. The problem is if you feel bad after it, don't keep doing it. Don't bang your head against the same wall over and over and then wonder why it hurts. Okay? But if you didn't prep well, then blame yourself and maybe try again if you want. Okay? So who shouldn't? If you have chronic anemia or if you know you don't feel good after blood donations, then don't keep doing it. But if your prepping sucks, then fix your prepping. Go in the afternoon after you've had a solid breakfast and a solid lunch. You are well hydrated, but not overhydrated, and take a snack for when you're done. A quality snack. And drink some water because they just took your fluids and you can make the plasma back very quickly. Okay. So what are the positives and negatives? The positives and negatives both fall into the same thing. When you donate blood, you are removing good stuff and bad stuff. If you remove too much good stuff and you're not putting it back in, you're going to make your deficiencies worse. If you remove bad stuff, but you're constantly putting bad stuff back in, like, oh, I don't know, copper and vitamin A, like some groups are. It's funny, the group that advises blood donations excessively is also the group that pushes copper and vitamin A. What a weird coincidence. Then you're just going to make yourself toxic again. You're not, the toxic things drive down your good minerals. And then you go and you suck them out with blood donations. And then you have people saying they feel worse after every blood donation because you've taken more and more of the good and put in more and more of the bad in the meantime, and you're just in a bad spot. So anyway, what we are trying to do here with blood donations, this is some simple math, a simple math concept, right? We are putting back in the good with what we do, diet and the small range of supplements that we use, and we are not putting in the bad, things like copper and vitamin A and other toxic things. And so when you do a blood donation that takes out some good and some bad, by the sake of the math of it, we are moving towards overall more good and less bad because we're putting back in the good and we're not putting back in the bad. And so the blood donation moves us more in the less bad. And yes, it does take out some good, but we're putting back in the good. That's the whole point. Okay. So hope that helps, Ramon. I know that was a long answer, but iron's a big deal. Like, as an example, another thing is if you don't feel good eating red meat, and you think it's the iron, you may not feel good eating the red meat iron. That's okay. Eat something else. But do we in our program have to stop people eating red meat to fix their hemochromatosis, their iron overload? No, we don't. So Evanir Garcia asks, do you see any connection between vitamin A toxicity and Dupuytren's disease or anything else? So these diseases like Dupuytren's disease, let me just pull it up just so everybody can see it. Image, if we can find it. Okay. Let's just do this one. So Joe, if you want to show this one. So Dupuytren's contracture, it's a contracture of I think it's the tendon sheath. These types of contractures are always related to calcification. It's generally, so think of it as if you, again, I'll use this example. If you have a car in a beach town, right? There's salty air, humid, salty air. If you'd had no damage to the outer finish of the car, right? It would take years and years and years for or maybe years, we should say, for the rust, for the finish to eat through so that the rust could actually find a place to really start. But if somebody came along and keyed your car, keyed right through the paint to the metal, when does the rust start and where does the rust start? It starts right in that place. So the same thing happens with like calcification in your body is when you damage an area. If you have an excess of calcium in the system, where will that tend? It'll be accumulating everywhere, but where will it really start to accumulate? It'll accumulate right in the place that has the damage. Like my dad had something like this. He never got it diagnosed specifically, but you want to know the funny thing? He said my dad was a dentist, and he said where some of the dental tools he used, they pushed right into his hand right at that spot, and he started developing calcification. Well, how else could you damage an area, a specific area, other than overuse and pushing something into it day after day after day after day, right? How could you wear out a spot on the finish on a car? Well, you could rub it, that same spot, every day. And even though it's only rubbing it with something that may not be that rough, if you do that and the rest of the car it doesn't happen to, that rub spot burns out quicker. Let me just go and see if I can find anything in... just to back up what I'm saying. Oh, there we go. Calcification in Dupuytren's disease, a report of 2 cases. So 2 cases are presented of calcification within Dupuytren's tissue. So medicine doesn't like to look for calcification too much because they find it everywhere they look. In nearly every disease state that is in a specific area, you can go and search radiology and like the disease and type in calcification. And you'll find that they'll show you on the x-rays that there's calcification in the area. What do we do that fixes calcification? Well, we don't take vitamin D rat poison supplements. We reduce and minimize vitamin A consumption. Both of these things, when you have hypervitaminosis D, vitamin D toxicity, what does it cause? Calcification. When you have vitamin A toxicity, hypervitaminosis A, what does it cause? Calcification. Hypercalcemia leads to calcification. Both of those things cause hypercalcemia. Hypercalcemia leads to calcification, even if you don't have a blood test that says hypercalcemia on their ranges. Copper in the research has been shown to be associated with calcification. We fix these things. Now, the other thing that one could do for this would be, so 2 things that might be accumulating in that area. 1 would be calcium, calcification. 2 would be toxins. Okay, so what could you do to decalcify the area? Topical magnesium. Okay. You could do a magnesium hand soak. You want the topical magnesium on this area. So if you were really into it, I would be putting topical magnesium on this area and then just rubbing it. Like use the topical magnesium so that you can massage it. So if you have calcifications, another name for something that men have, Peyronie's disease. If you have that, we have helped somebody fix that issue in themselves. What did I have them do? Put magnesium on the area. They put magnesium on the area multiple times a day. How do you dissolve calcifications? You put magnesium on it. So you could do a hand soak. You could put lotion on it. You could put the spray on it. You could do it 3 times a day. And then we avoid vitamin A. We avoid vitamin D supplements. We minimize copper as we're able to. And then we do all the other things. So that's basically, do I see any connection between a vitamin A? Vitamin A causes hypercalcemia. Hypercalcemia leads to metastatic calcification. Calcification in tendons is what's going on there. So yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you for the super chat, Evan here. Let me look. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, Will did the first super chat. I see it. There you go, Will. You do win. Thank you very much. Sorry, I missed that. Let me see. Ramon, we got. Evan here, we got. The name on this one, Cellulite and Zits, a love story, is the username. So, very nice username. Let's see, where was it? Okay. Rolo Tomassi. If you don't know who Rolo is, Rolo Tomassi, he's a red pill guy on the internet. It says Rolo wants to do a live stream with you, but only if you change your name to the Red Pill Nutrition Detective. Now, I did have somebody, I don't know if this is the same person. I'm guessing it's not because it was a man, but who left the other comment. I don't usually see too many men complaining about cellulite, but it happens, you know. Actually, I met Rolo in Vegas. I got a picture with him. I haven't put it anywhere, but I just saw him and I was like, I gotta get a picture of this for my buddy, who liked Rolo stuff is all right. It's pretty good. It's a very good intro for people who are into that. But yeah, one guy on the comments on one of my YouTube videos, he said I'm like the red pill of nutrition, and I took it as a compliment, although I have my hesitancies about, well, the state of the red pill on the internet is, in terms of relationships, is in a very, very bad place. I think it started as a potentially useful thing for men, and I think it's gone off the rails. It's totally gone off the rails. But anyway, that's a funny chat. So thank you for that. I would go on. I've talked to Michael Sartain about going on his podcast. I would, if you know Rolo and you got a connection, you want to get me on there, I would get on it. So Shane, wait, let me see. Okay, so Shane did do a super chat. Shane McGuffin here. So his super chat's right below it. Joe, does detoxing vitamin A help detox heavy metals, or at least help not store them in the future? So, okay. Yes. It's a little bit of a roundabout. This is where I lose people, because they want it to be like, well, what if I never got vitamin A toxicity? And they're sure that they never got it. How does this work for me? Okay, so this is why we call it the Love Your Liver program, because it all has to do with your liver. So think about this. Whenever you do something that causes liver injury, now it doesn't have to be like somebody kicked you in your liver, or like you took a liver shot like a boxer. It's just anything. Could be Tylenol you got as a kid, could be a shot you got, could be antibiotics you took, could be antidepressants, benzos, could be high dose vitamin D, could be eating liver, could be any of these things that could cause liver injury. Okay. We had a guy do wheat germ. He was trying to do wheat germ as a supplement, and he thinks he gave himself manganese toxicity. Manganese in the literature is connected with cholestasis and liver injury. So any of these things could have done it. So think about this. You cause liver injury. You get liver injury. You could have been born with liver injury. If you were born jaundiced, you're leaking bile into your blood. Okay? So if you are leaking bile into your blood, that bile, some of it's going out through your kidneys and your skin. Yes. You are still detoxing it. As it goes out through your kidneys, it tends to damage your kidneys. As it goes out through your skin, it tends to damage your skin. That's skin conditions. So you're causing yourself health problems. You're damaging your kidneys, which means your kidneys are going to run slower. Your liver's already probably running slower because your bile is so toxic that it's leaking into the system, and that toxic bile will damage your very liver cells. Intrahepatic cholestasis, you're leaking it right into the bloodstream. So anyway, just think of it as the more liver injury you have. Let me simplify this. The more toxic you become, the slower you detox. This is critical that you understand this. The more toxic you become, the more damaged your detox system becomes, and the slower you detox. Like, I see the absolute dimwits who are like, as long as your liver and kidneys are functioning fine, you're detoxing just fine. And I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That'd be like saying, as long as your car drives, it's driving optimally. Is your car driving optimally today? Probably not. I mean, shills, just straight shills, or just people who are missing 2 brain cells to rub together, maybe. I don't know. But so whatever got you liver injured in the first place was toxic, and it slowed your detox. So then this is the rub, right? This is why as you become more toxic, you detox slower. So you're not detoxing well. We all get exposed to toxins, right? Maybe we tried to do health food stuff and we didn't realize it was toxic. You put more toxins in, you damage your liver more, you slow down your detox more. Now, there are things that you can do that you might have tried in the past that in a certain way they slow down your detox or they change your bile recipe and you feel better for a while. And then 2 months, 6 months, a year into it, the bottom falls out and you wonder, well, I was doing this thing that made me feel so good. Why all of a sudden do I feel worse than I ever did before I started? Because you were kicking the can down the road. You shut down detox for a while. You felt better, and then it all comes out later. The dam breaks. Okay? So, how do we get rid of toxic metals? How are we supposed to get rid of toxic metals? We're supposed to get rid of it in the bile. So the liver makes the bile. The liver, in a way, poops out the bile into the intestines. And then you want that bile. The reason we dump bile from the gallbladder with food is so it mixes with the food so that all the toxic bile that's inside the poop cannot be absorbed, right? You can only absorb what's touching the intestines. So in a way, your food, the poop, is actually a way of helping to move the toxic bile out of you as a chunk, okay? Because if you dumped bile, those of us who have been doing this for a while know you dump bile when you don't have food down there and you start reabsorbing it through leaky gut into your blood and you don't feel good. This is why we have a gallbladder. So you dump the bile when you eat because it's the safest way of transporting it out of you without reabsorbing so much of it through your gut lining. Okay? So if you can get rid of that bile from the poop, that is optimal. Anything less, if you are leaking the bile back into your bloodstream, then it's hitting your kidneys. It's coming out through your skin. It's going via the blood to your brain. We don't want the bile going in the blood. And then we have things like, let me see if I can find it real quick. If anyone remembers, there was some stuff. Was it lead? Did I type in lead? I meant type in cadmium. So, okay, now for the people who think like, oh, we have a retinoic acid receptor and and that means we need vitamin A. So when you see this and you go, cadmium induces retinoic acid signaling, Wait, so you're telling me cadmium stimulates the retinoic acid receptor by regulating retinoic acid metabolic gene expression? Do you want, so if a toxic metal is inducing vitamin A signaling, do you understand that it's like birds of a feather flock together? Toxic things love other toxic things. What do they give retinoic acid active vitamin A with for chemo? They give it with arsenic. Like they use toxins to get toxins. Poison begets poison, right? The more poisons you put in, the more poisons you want, but poisons in your body synergistically work together to make you sicker. Weird that active vitamin A synergizes with cadmium and synergizes with arsenic in treatments, like, right? So, in addition, cadmium and retinoic acid can act synergistically to induce forelimb malformations. That's called birth defects. What's the one vitamin they tell women you need to be really careful with, or they should tell women you need to be really careful with during pregnancy? Oh, it's vitamin A, because it'll cause birth defects. And then you got the WAP people pushing all this vitamin A, wondering why all their kids are so allergic to everything, which I've been over before, and why their kids just aren't as healthy as they expected them to come out, since they were putting all this work in on their diet. Because you were told to poison your kids. I'm sorry. I'm here trying to help avoid the same fate. Okay? So, yeah. So think of it as we put in less of the toxic metals. You're injuring your liver less. As we put in less of the vitamin A, you're injuring your liver less. You're allowing it time to heal. You put in less copper. You put in more soluble fiber to soak up the bile. Maybe you're able to take charcoal. That soaks up the bile, grabs onto it, so you poop it out. Like, this is what we are doing. So the first thing you have to do, if the more toxic you are, the slower your detox system runs. Do you think if here, I love car analogies and stuff like this. If your car is running poorly because it's all gunked up, it's all dirty, you haven't changed the oil, you got a dirty engine, you got a dirty air filter, you got all this stuff that's dirty in it, do you think you should take it to the mechanic and say, I want my car to run faster, let's put a turbo on it? Or do you think you're just going to burn out your engine faster? What do you think about all these people who just tell you, take glutathione and take milk thistle, which actually has been shown to slow your detox system? Take all these herbs to speed up your detox system. That sucks. What you should do, prioritize, is you stop intoxing. Stop putting the poisons in so that your body has less of a load, so then it can catch up. Kind of like if you were at work and you were backlogged with work and you could say to people, could you stop giving me some work so I could catch up on this maybe? Doesn't that seem like a better approach? Like, so it stops piling up. Because with what we live, you're going to be piling up toxic stuff all day long, every day. You're exposed to toxins all day long, every day. You can control your exposure to some of them. Like if there's stuff falling from the sky and you're out there obsessing over it, can you change that? I mean, I'd love to see it. If you could, I mean, go ahead. But is it doing you any good to watch videos of trails all day and to get angry about it, about something you have no control over? That's not helping you. But what could you do here on the ground? You could stop putting in poisons that you do have control over. Okay? So that's what I got. We stop intoxing. We reduce the intoxing so your body can then have less toxins coming in. The load on the liver's less. The liver's always trying to fix things. It's always trying to recover and to improve itself. So if we just give it some room, then it can, and it does. So yes, it is all connected. Okay. Next one, next super chat. M&M Professional Window Cleaners. We have my 10-year-old son has a tongue tie and lip tie. He still drools, doesn't swallow naturally or well, and seems to be anxious when he is talking. What are your thoughts about general tongue tie release? It's a surgical thing. If you're gonna do it, I mean, go do it. It's not gonna. Okay. I do not know. I do not think so that what we're doing is going to fix this problem. So that's just my. I'm never going to say no that the body couldn't fix it, but I haven't seen it yet, and I haven't heard people talking about it, so I don't know. Now, for it's usually, I'm going to say it's probably easier, and on both. If you do the surgery earlier than later, so that the body can adjust to it as it gets bigger, I think that would be probably better than waiting until they're an adult. But it's still a surgery. Y'all got to watch out for people who, for now people are saying, I don't know if this is true, but they're saying if you go and you do something in the hospital where you get put under, they're going to try to give you the shot. What you need to do on the forms you sign is make sure to write no pokies, with the technical term, no biologics. Make sure to include that word, no biologics. You could write no mRNA if you want. Put any words on there on that sheet that you can think of that would be related to that. Okay? So, but yeah, I think, I had orthodontics, which is different than a surgery, of course, right? But I had orthodontics as a kid. It probably helped. I still have my little, still got that. This crept back. Imagine that after I think I did 3.5 years of braces. And then the orthodontist just wanted me to be in a retainer forever. I think I did 6 years of a retainer. And then still that little thing fought its way back. And I was like, my body really wanted that gap. So anyway, I would rather do personally, if I was going to do something like that with my kids, I'd probably do it when they were younger. I might do something I probably would. Actually, I got to get my boy started on this. My boy got a palate spacer. And I need to go get him some cranial sacral. If you're doing orthodontics or things that are adjusting the teeth and the jaw, get cranial sacral during the process. Don't wait until it's all done. Get it done during so that things can readjust. Okay. So, okay, Glenn, we're finding Glenn's question. Here it is. I currently have CUFID. I fully accept toxic bile theory. Okay, Glenn, you're in the cult. You've joined the cult. No. So anyway, thanks for the question, Eminem. Glenn publicly admitted he's in the cult now. Okay. Right. I have terrible hip pain. How does bile target just this one spot? I don't have hip problems either. I'm always here. I just stay quiet. So, okay. So Zen Dog Breath might have a comment on this. How does it target just the one? So when I kind of went over the rust accumulating at that spot, I know, okay, so it can just be wear and tear. You may not know how you cause the wear and tear, right? I know, with my meniscus in my left knee that I have issues with that meniscus. I have a slightly stretched out ACL, and you can feel it on the drawer test, or what's the other one? The Lockman test, I think. Anyway, you can feel that little give. How did I get that? I never would have considered myself to have a knee injury, but I was a baseball catcher for 8 years. I used to go to practice on Saturday and bullpen catch for 4 hours straight. Up and down from full squat, kneeling on the ground, bouncing out of that position to throw to second base and all that stuff. And I don't think, and then I was squatting heavy too. So if you had anything misaligned, right? Anything up the chain that's not working right. And I had a lot of ankle injuries as a kid in basketball where I'd like land on a guy's foot and then I'd roll my ankle. Well, those things can go up the chain. If you don't know about ankles, like once you've hurt your ankle, like rolled your ankle, and if you don't rehab it well, like your ankle's dumb forever. It doesn't know where it is in space very well, and you're likely to get more ankle sprains, and it's likely to feed up the chain. So anyway, what I'm getting at is if you just had like bad alignment or whatever, or if you had a short leg that you didn't know about, you could wear on that hip. Does it make sense? Just like a tire alignment. If it's off, it's going to wear the tire weird. You may not know how that tire alignment got off, but it did. And so it wore down your tire in a weird pattern. So what is accumulating there? It's the toxins we talk about. You know, could be calcium. I'm sure there's very likely calcium going on there. Could be, you know, kind of like iron rust, if you will. Could be all sorts of things. But like it's like with the retinoic acid studies we go over. I don't know if here, I'll just show this again. Zendog will love this. Let's do retinoic, or let's do isotretinoin. What am I thinking of? Sacroiliitis, PubMed. I should have just gone to PubMed. Sorry. Let me go here. Let's do it again. Isotretinoin. Sacroiliitis. Okay. In the medical world, they love to say that sacroiliitis is a rare side effect of Accutane, isotretinoin. 13-cis-retinoic acid, a completely natural and normal thing to be floating around in your blood. Accutane is normal to be floating around in your blood if you eat vitamin A. It's normal. I can show it. It's in the blood. I can show it in the urine. I can show it. It's in there. So looking at all these papers connected to isotretinoin causing sacroiliitis. Look at the highlighted. Okay, right? Isotretinoin, sacroiliitis, isotretinoin, sacroiliitis, sacroiliitis, isotretinoin. Okay, sacroiliitis, isotretinoin, sacroiliitis, isotretinoin. I mean, I could just go down here. There's 36 references just from this. Well, then you say, well, how does retinoic acid know to cause problems in the sacroiliac area? I have no idea. You would have to ask God. It's just, why does this happen there? I don't know. I've had multiple people in recent months tell me that their shoulder pain, especially right shoulder pain, as they got on a low vitamin A diet, went away. Some people told me they had surgery on their shoulder and that didn't fix it. And then after they got on the low vitamin A diet, the pain went away. One guy on Twitter says, I don't know what the heck is happening, but he's like, this right shoulder pain I've had for years, I couldn't lift weights on it very well, just went away. I don't know. Why is it the right shoulder? I don't know. Why is it sacroiliitis? I don't know. Why is it your hip? I don't know. Why did my knee go bad? I have a history of it. I did wear and tear on that joint. Do I know the moment I tore the meniscus? No. Do I think it can possibly heal? I'm doing stuff to work on it where my knee is getting, like, how do I know my knee is getting better? Because I can kneel on it now. Kneeling on it used to cause me lots of inflammation for several days afterwards. And I can kneel on it and I barely feel anything afterwards. And I can come out of a deep squat where I'm really compressed. Like, I have a really good squat and I can still squat down just fine. I just don't jump out of it or do deep squats with weight. I can still go down and I have all that mobility, but I get some clunks in it. And the clunks often would hurt for several days. So I knew what the triggers were to make it worse. So I avoided those triggers. I still maintain the ability to get down into a deep squat because I think that's important. And I'm doing some things down in deep squats. But when I come out of it, I avoid the clunk. So see, I'm going down and I think my body's slowly rehabbing it. Would it do it so well if I was still full of vitamin A and other toxic stuff? I don't think so. So, yeah. But yeah, so why does it pick that area? I don't know. But I would look into your history, and if you ever injured that area, then you have a reason for the calcification or the rust to kind of find that and accumulate there. But even if you don't, there could be like why does retinoic acid find the sacroiliac joint? I don't have an explanation. But anyway, generally, calcification is going to cause you to be in more pain. Okay, so from Mikey, let me see. Thank you for the super chat. Regarding hydroxocobalamin, does body only take what it needs and pee the rest out or shove it all in the liver? Taking 100 micrograms sublingual times 3 a day. Too much. 100 are you sure it's only 100 micrograms? I mean, okay. Where to begin? I mean, first of all, if you're taking B12, if you want to take B12, you need, I would say that if there's no reason to take it, if it doesn't help you feel better. Like if you're going to take B12, it should noticeably change something in you. You should feel better. If it's not helping you feel better, you're taking an antidote that you don't need. Hydroxocobalamin, cobalamin, cobalt. Cobalt is a toxic metal. Cobalt is not an essential mineral. We don't need it. I can show you that on everybody who I do hair tests with, as they stay with me long enough, their cobalt will go to 0. Cobalt. Not B12, but cobalt. Some people out in the hair analysis world think that if your cobalt's low on your hair test, you need to try to raise it by taking B12. I can tell you that it doesn't work. I thought that at one point. It doesn't work. And if you're trying to give people so much B12 that you raise their cobalt, you are poisoning them with cobalt. Okay? I mean, go look up cobalt toxicity. Cobalt is not a nutritional element by itself. So, do we want, and then I've done research on like the 3 different parts of the cobalt amine molecule. The amine, it's like one of the most complicated amines in all the vitamins. The 3 parts that make it up could be considered toxic, each single one of them by themselves. So are we going to say that if we have 3 parts of an amine that are all toxic when you look at them by themselves, and then you bind a cobalt to it, that somehow this is good for you? That seems weird. What is B12 an antidote for? Known to be an antidote for? Taking a non-cyanocobalamin can be an antidote for cyanide poisoning. Other B12s are an antidote for hydrogen sulfide poisoning. Lots of people in the alternative health world try to push sulfur in their system. We don't here. We know that sulfur slows down ALDH. ALDH is one of your most important detox enzymes. So we don't push sulfur here. Remember how I was telling you earlier about like people slowing down their detox? Toxins slow down detox. Sulfur is... Do you think if you smell sulfur out there, your body goes, yummy, let me get some more sulfur? No. Sulfur smells disgusting. Just so happens to be yellow colored. Just so happens to be the smell of sulfur is described as the smell of hell. It all sounds so wonderful, right? So B12 is a remedy for sulfur poisoning. Hydrogen sulfide poisoning, which, just so you know, modern medicine is now trying to make a case that hydrogen sulfide can be good for you, just like they're trying to make a case that more of different toxic bile acids in your blood are good for you. They are manipulating you and gaslighting you into this. And some of the people out there, and even the vitamin A toxicity world, are believing them. Anyway. Does the body only take what it needs? First of all, let's as I've been over this before, does it only take what it needs with all the B vitamins? I don't think so. Can you get B vitamin toxicity? Sure. B6 accumulates in your nerve endings. B6 toxicity is a bitch. B6 is an alcohol and an aldehyde. Pyridoxine is an alcohol. Pyridoxal 5-phosphate is an aldehyde. and it accumulates in your nerve endings. So all of a sudden, everybody used to say, so I'm just poking a hole in the B vitamin thing. Everybody used to say that B vitamins don't accumulate. You can take huge doses and they won't cause you any problems. BS. B6 accumulates in you. So there goes that whole thing. Okay. What I tell people about, and so let's go back to, does B12, do you just pee it out? Quick story. I poisoned myself with MSM in the past. Organic sulfur. This was before I knew it. This is one of the things that made me realize that sulfur was poisonous. I poisoned myself with MSM because the guy, this, how do you think I learned these lessons? The guy who I was talking to, pushing the organic sulfur, he sounded like he had emphysema. First of all, I should have had the red flags there, be like, well, if this dude, it's like a byproduct of wood processing. Like there's so many red flags about MSM. And so then he's telling me like the greatest thing about organic sulfur, he would always call it organic sulfur and not MSM. The greatest thing about organic sulfur is that if you take too much, well, no, he said if you get detox symptoms, you just take more, which is a weird thing because I'm telling you that sulfur slows detox and that if you slow detox symptoms more, you can feel better. Huh. Now it all makes sense. So he told me to take more. And so the first 10 days, I can tell you, I'm going to admit this. I thought it was great. Julie, my practice manager, decided to do it with me. And Edis, my buddy, decided to do it with me too. The first 7 to 10 days, all of us were like giddy, goofy, happy. Like everything was wonderful. And then around like day 9 or 10, the stuff hit the fan. Julie and Edis did not trust me very much with supplements after that. I had it the worst of everybody. I could hardly walk. Like my legs would burn, like lactic acid burn in like 50 to 100 yards. I'd have to sit down. I was, it was bad. One of the silliest thing, the worst place was when I would stand at a urinal. When I had to pee and I would stand at a urinal, my leg would start burning so bad. So I think this went on for about a month. I talked to Stephanie Seneff. I emailed her and I said, I got this problem. I heard you were like a sulfur expert. Do you have any idea what it is? And she said, it sounds like hydrogen sulfide poison. It sounds like you gave yourself hydrogen sulfide poisoning. And I was like, thank you. And that's all I needed. It was an email, but it's like, imagine hanging up the phone. You're like, okay, got what I needed. I go and I research hydrogen sulfide toxicity. I find that B12 is this is like me doing what I do. Find out that B12 is a remedy for hydrogen sulfide toxicity. I immediately ordered injectable hydroxocobalamin. I found an ND student who was in Tucson helping at my clinic to do, and I got all the stuff for IVs. First day I did intramuscular injections, I think I injected about 70,000 micrograms of hydroxocobalamin. The hydroxocobalamin I had was 10,000 micrograms per milliliter. It looked like blood. It was so dark. It's not like the red that you can see through it. This was like blood thick. It did not feel good. It hurt. You want to know what? I was 80% out of pain the first day. Did the IVs the next day or two. I think I put in about 200,000 micrograms of B12 over 2 or 3 days. And I was 90 to 95% out of the problems within those 3 days. My pee at times looked like fruit punch. So did I pee out a lot of it? Oh, yeah. Am I glad I had the B12 as an antidote? Yes. Did I take B12 after that? No, I didn't take B12 after that. Do I take B12 now? No. If people ask me, should I take B12? I'll say you can try it. If it helps, great. You can keep taking it. If it doesn't help or it makes you feel worse, oh my gosh, stop taking it. Like if it's not helping, don't take antidotes you don't need. So that's... If you're not feeling any better from the sublingual, I don't see why you'd need to take it 3 times a day unless you need to dose that to feel better. And if you continually need to take B12, Like you never get over the B12 symptoms that feel better. You take B12, you feel better, and that never sees to go away. You're poisoning yourself somehow. You're either still very, very toxic or you're still poisoning yourself. As an example, in a live stream a while ago, I went over like people like to use Epsom salts. Epsom salts are magnesium sulfate. I showed research about how your gut bacteria can turn sulfates into hydrogen sulfide. What's the remedy for hydrogen sulfide again? It's B12. Maybe people are constantly poisoning themselves with sulfur, and then they constantly need B12. Does the body store B12 in the liver? I mean, to a certain extent, I haven't seen that as a big problem. But what I would when people decide they want to take B12, like I say, take it up to a certain dose. I've had people go up to 3,000, 3,000, 5,000 micrograms a day. If you don't feel any better, then stop taking it. Don't just take B vitamins just because people on the internet say to. Okay. Wait. Yeah, okay. So Pierre, I think I got that question. Okay, so the next super chat from Eve. Hi, do you see clients who drink coconut water stored in glass still have issues with estrogen? Okay. It seems that some people who are sensitive to it, yes. I think CK, that's her handle. CK seems to have problems with it. She has hypertension issues, and she does not do well with coconut water. Now, people out there going, coconut water, estrogen, what's going on? Let me go see if I can find the, let's do coconut menopause. Where is it? Let me see if I can find it. There's got to be some, maybe it'll be on this one. Young coconut juice significantly reduces histopathological changes in the brain that are induced by hormonal imbalance, a possible implication to postmenopausal women. Let me get down here and see if there's anything else. This study confirms the argument that young coconut juice has estrogen-like characteristics. Okay. The cool thing about coconut water is it doesn't have, it's got lots of potassium in it and very little vitamin A. So we like, here in the Love Your Liver area, we do like things that are high in potassium and low in vitamin A, generally. But the glass is not I mean, if you are getting coconut water in Tetra Paks, the cardboardy like boxes, there's aluminum in the liner of those. There just is. We're exposed to aluminum a lot. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, so this is one of the papers that will, where they're coming up with the idea that it has estrogen-like characteristics. Young coconut juice supplementation results in greater bone mass and bone formation indices in ovary-ectomized rats. So rats that have no ovaries. Okay. So, yeah, these findings suggest that young coconut juice supplementation has a positive effect on bone metabolism and thus represents a possible intervention to slow the bone loss observed following menopause. You want to know how to slow your bone loss the most? Don't take vitamin D supplements. Reduce or minimize your vitamin A intake. I've shown research, I think the Twitter study where it was guys who took vitamin D for 10 years, or was it 3 years, had lower bone mass than the guys who didn't after 3 years. Vitamin D supplements are ruining your bone mass. Weird that everybody's promoting vitamin D3 now, huh? Everybody. The alternative people and the conventional people. Gosh, who are they missing? Nobody, except us. Vitamin A has been shown at over 3,000 units a day to reduce bone mass. 3,000 units a day. Most normal people are getting that at breakfast. Normal. Do you want to be normal? We're not here to be normal, are we? And then taking more calcium is not going to fix. If you're pulling calcium out of your bones with vitamin A and vitamin D, putting more calcium into the system is not going to put calcium into your bones. Right? If your sink is leaking somewhere, does turning up the strength of the flow of water make it leak less? No, you just leak more. Like, it's not, you don't fix a problem by if you're leaking calcium into the blood from the bones, right? Bone calcium is going into the blood. Putting more calcium in is going to put more calcium in the blood. Did I tell you what happens when you have too much calcium in the blood? Your body will put it into soft tissues, your brain, your heart, your blood vessels. Weird how that we went over all the causes of heart disease. Was that last week? And how vitamin A and vitamin D causing metastatic calcification and all this stuff. Like, it's all connected. So no, I don't know why there would be any difference functionally between coconut oil in glass and coconut oil or coconut water, coconut juice, whatever you want to call it. I don't see why there would be any difference. Oop, don't know why my camera's having trouble focusing. But anyway, I don't know why there'd be any difference between the two. Oh, we haven't been sharing the URLs today. Oh, no. Here's the microplastics in sea salt one. Let's see. I'm not going to show the Dupuytren's picture. Here's the calcification in Dupuytren's link. Where'd my mouse go? There it is. Cadmium and vitamin A link. Isotretinoin and sacroiliitis search link for those who want it. And the two young coconut juice ones. And then, so yeah, Eve, I don't think it has anything to do with what it's stored in. It's the nature of it. Now, okay. I'm not saying that all estrogen is a bad thing, but this would potentially explain why some people might not feel very good on coconut juice or coconut water. Because if they're already kind of hyperestrogen, or their liver is not processing estrogen-like compounds well, then it's going to have problems. I mean, women's livers processing hormones and having trouble with it is exactly what menstrual symptoms are, folks. That's their liver not handling the hormone changes that they're having, the surges in hormones. So for a person who doesn't feel very good on coconut juice, it's probably a liver problem, but isn't everything. So, okay, I'm finding the next question. Okay, so that's Eve's question. Thank you for the super chat, Eve. And then we have Ryan Egan. Cause of sulfur farts on a low vitamin A diet, on lactoferrin and keystone minerals, LF and KM. That's what those stand for. Well, could be potentially, I mean, you could be eating more sulfur than you're tolerating. Now, sulfur's in practically everything. The highest sulfur foods that we avoid generally here on the program, the highest sulfur, there's sulfur in red meat. Don't get me wrong. Am I going to tell you to avoid red meat? No. Egg whites are high sulfur. Dairy is high sulfur. Cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, radishes. What's the other ones? Are parsnips a crucifer? I don't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, the stinky sulfur ones, when you cook them, they stink of sulfur. Those. Allium vegetables, garlic, onions, chives, leeks, that stuff. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Is there anything I missed? I don't think so. I think that was the main list. So, I mean, it's like egg white protein powder is well known for giving sulfur farts. Well known. Terrible sulfur farts. Oh, Epsom salts. If you're using Epsom salts in the bath, if you're using any supplements that are sulfur based, MSM, as somebody asked down below, glucosamine sulfate, chondroitin sulfate, taking NAC, N-acetylcysteine. Cysteine is a sulfur-containing amino acid. Weird that the powers that the big alternative powers that be are saying take a bunch of NAC. Everybody's saying to take all these sulfur things too. Now, Ryan, some people normally for people who are not testing with me, I suggest people limit themselves to 1 keystone minerals a day, which is a basic dose of 150 micrograms of molybdenum. When I work with people privately and I see their symptoms related to sulfur, because there's actually 5 sulfur questions I go over, and I see their hair test molybdenum level, and I get to look at other things like iron overload and copper toxicity, things that are related to molybdenum, sometimes I will put them on more. And that sulfur metabolism is very much ruled by molybdenum status. So think of it, the 2 things we do. Oh, we stop intoxing, we stop putting in the sulfur, and we give the body what it needs to process the sulfur, which would be molybdenum. So that's what we do. Like I said, I keep people at 1 keystone minerals if they are not under my care. If people decide to go higher than that, whether it's molybdenum or keystone minerals on their own, I have no control over what you do. If you are not my client, I am not your practitioner. And so whatever you do is not based on things I say here. It is based on your choices alone, based on information that you have gathered. Molybdenum toxicity, there's 1 case study in the literature, and the guy was taking obscene amounts. But can people feel copper dumps and other things like that from too much molybdenum? Absolutely. Some people are very sensitive to molybdenum and dumping copper. Yeah. So that's why I go by. This is what we do here, especially when people work with me. We go by the labs, the hair tests and the blood tests. We go by symptoms. And we also go by the person's feedback when they try something. Okay. So let's say, as an example, somebody has a deficiency on their hair test molybdenum. Okay. And let's say they have multiple symptoms of molybdenum deficiency. Okay. But they try taking molybdenum and they don't feel good. Which one do we listen to the most? The one where they don't feel good. So we would either try less or a different type for that person. Because like sodium molybdate has a sodium attached, molybdenum glycinate has a glycine attached. Different people could react differently to the extra thing on the molybdenum. Let's say that person's just so copper toxic and molybdenum for whatever triggers a copper dump and they can't take it. So we don't do it for them. Maybe they can eat beans, which used to be a decent source of molybdenum, but aren't really that great these days. All the foods are going down in minerals. Gosh, you don't think it's part of the plan, do you? I do. So, but that's what I got. Let's see. John, who's an hombre, yes. Said lots of cellulite increased on love your liver. Okay, so this is this can be just pushing things too fast. I just had somebody the other day send me an email that he said he was letting people know in his group that doing too much soluble fiber can kick your ass. Have I ever said this? Have I ever said this? Maybe just like a million times. And he said he was doing black beans and oats and sun fiber and apples and like basically everything that one could do to jack up their soluble fiber. And he said it kicked him in the ass. And I'm like, yes, this is expected. I can't tell you how many people I've warned people about this all the time. I say, you're going to think that you're different. You're going to think that you're the toughest sucker that ever lived, and you're going to push things too hard, and it's going to bite you in the ass, and then you're going to go, gosh, Dr. Smith was right again. So the cellulite thing, I mean, that can be collagen formation. If you're dumping a bunch of vitamin A actually messes with collagen formation really bad. This is in the literature. Like, I think, let me see if I can find that right off the top of my head. You got to remember, when you see the studies showing short-term cell effects, when people are like, oh, vitamin A in these cell studies looks great, and then we see people with collagen issues all over the place. I don't know if I'm going to look through all these. Where was it? There was another one showing the effects of retinoic acid on collagen synthesis by human dermal fibroblasts. You want your skin to replicate, right? The inhibitory effect of retinoic acid on cell proliferation, that's not good. Is consistent with previous observations. So there have been multiple studies showing that vitamin A will slow down the reproduction of fibroblasts. Okay. Vitamin A short term will speed up the turnover of cells. But as they say, like, if you subscribe to the idea that human cells have only so many turnovers in them, if you speed that up, what are you really actually speeding towards? You're speeding towards those cells not being able to reproduce as well, to replicate. Okay. So that's why it works at the start, just like caffeine does. Caffeine gives me so much energy at the start of your habit. And over time, you become more and more tired. Your sleep gets terrible, all that stuff. It's the same thing. That's what drugs do. Toxic compounds. So, John, eventually we're going to get into in the Love Your Liver program. I mean, obviously, if cellulite does seem to go with some amount of water retention. So if you can work on the potassium intake and get that right, and then if you can work on, obviously, if you are overweight, losing weight, I'm going to tell people, think calories in, calories out don't matter, but still you can overeat on any diet. Okay. So if that's happening, I'm not saying that's happening. If that's happening, I used to overeat all the time. I basically trained myself since childhood to eat too much because of the bodybuilding nonsense and the don't go catabolic and all that garbage. So, yeah, so Zendog actually came to the Zendog breath on here, came to the inner circle, and he was asking me about sulfur farts, and I gave him some advice in the inner circle, and I went over similar things to what we went over today. And he said, Ryan Egan, I used to eat tons of crucifers, so I might have stored a lot of sulfur. I don't know. Can you store sulfur? I don't know. But he said, had to stop Epsom salts, crucifers, and last week cut down on fruit and upped his oatmeal. Seemed to cut his toxic sulfur farts by 50%. Okay, and then he also said he had to check his B1 intake and molybdenum. So these are things, this is why we don't have a one-size-fits-all. We don't have a protocol for everybody to follow. People who work with me directly can come to the office hours weekly and get fine-tuned advice on what is going on for them. That is the main benefit, I believe, of working with me and or Nathan as a practitioner. And if people do a consult with Nathan or I, they can come to either office hours and talk to me or Nathan. Whoever they do their consult with initially, they can come and get follow-ups from either of us. So let's see. Ryan asks, is thyroid fixed by improving T4 to T3 conversion in the liver? So you're getting down into what I consider, in a way, minutia. What we want to assume is we assume that the body knows what it's doing. We assume that if the body is not converting T4 to T3, that's a symptom. right? We would assume that if the body had everything it needed, if the body was not toxic in certain ways, and if the body had the nutrients that it needed, that it would be doing this. Right? I mean, that's my assumption. This is what we work on here. We assume that the body is intelligent, wise, that God gave our bodies all the tools it needs to run correctly when the correct environment, and the environment means everything inside of you and outside, when the correct environment is provided. I don't think about T4 to T3 conversion in the liver. It doesn't even cross my mind. What we do, especially if you haven't seen my vitamin A articles from my vitamin A and thyroid, let me go find them. Let me go to, so for those of you who don't know, Nutrition Restored is my old website.com/blog-forum. You can go here. If you want to search for old topics that I did, these are not up to date. These are written, anywhere from 2 to 4 years ago. But so I type in thyroid, and then we get, we have lots of testimonials here. I go over, thyroid tests. I go over how iodine's connection to autoimmune thyroid disease. I went over iodine before. If you decide to mess around with iodine, personally, if I was going to mess around with iodine, I would only use nascent iodine at low doses, like RDA doses of nascent iodine. I would never touch an iodide of any type. And if the iodine did not help you significantly very quickly, then it's not the solution and you should stop taking it. Oh, and yeah, potassium iodide, known thyroid toxin. Yeah. So anyway, so there's some thyroid stuff. The big thing that when we work on thyroid, what do I consider when I'm Will puts iodide as in DIE. I mean, iodine, when you start learning about how they process iodine and iodides, it's super toxic, like super duper toxic. The precautions that they have to take to deal with iodine. And then you taste it, even the nascent iodine, it tastes horrible. So, what was I looking at? I was thinking about... What was I thinking? Oh, so okay, so what do I look at in terms of thyroid? In terms of helping people fix their thyroids, and oftentimes these same people, on their own recognizance, are able to slowly, they are reducing their thyroid medication over time. If you listen to this live stream and you decide that, oh, I'm doing the Love Your Liver program, I'm going to stop my thyroid medication, you're probably going to kick your own ass because your body's not ready for it yet. If you're not working directly with me and you take my words out of context and you just decide to do them, I mean, that's on you, okay? So, what do we do for thyroid? We fix selenium deficiency. We fix potassium deficiency. Not on the hair test. The hair test potassium is not useful. We fix potassium symptomatically. If you have low blood potassium, you have really low potassium. But that's all it tells you. It doesn't tell you how to fix it. It doesn't tell you the best potassium for you. It doesn't tell you what you're going to react best to. So we fix selenium deficiency, we fix potassium deficiency, and we fix calcium excess on the hair test. How does calcium excess come about? Let me see if I can repeat these again. Vitamin A toxicity, vitamin D supplements, copper toxicity, taking calcium supplements. And that can take a long time to come down. Did you hear iodine in there? No. Iodine is something that I will, if I talk to somebody privately about, I will talk to them about saying if it doesn't help, it's not the answer and you should stop. That's a key thing. How many things have you heard me talk about that today with B vitamins, with iodine? Like most supplements that are not, we test, we don't guess, then we address. So if we see mineral deficiencies, we try to fix them. If people try to take a supplement and it doesn't work, then we don't have them take that, or we have them take less. We stop putting the poisons in. And then if there are certain things like, let's say, high calcium that typically go along with high calcium on a hair test that go along with low thyroid function symptoms, then we definitely suggest that they work on the topical magnesium harder, because that is how you dissolve the calcium deposits and get them to leave. Here, let me see. Let me just see if sulfur accumulates. This is just interesting, right? Metabolic reprogramming of sulfur in hepatocellular carcinoma, liver cancer, basically, and sulfur triggered anti-cancer strategy. So whenever you see, mainstream stuff talking about anti-cancer strategies, what do they do for cancer? Do they give people things that are good for them, or do they give people things like chemo and retinoic acid and arsenic and radiation? And they give people poisons to make cancer go away for a while. Sulfur slows ALDH. Do you know they use all sorts of things that slow ALDH to try to fight cancer? Does the cancer come back? Yes, because there's this weird thing in the body where if you slow down detox, you can see things that you think you want to go away for a while. Cancer cells have super high ALDH production. I tell you that cancer is a storage site for toxins. So does it make sense that it would have high detox enzymes there? Why would it have high detox enzymes there? Additionally, the effects of sulfur are sometimes contradictory in tumor formation, tumorigenesis. You know what I'm saying? When I say something's toxic and they're like, we have contradictory findings. It's like chemotherapy. Sometimes chemotherapy makes the cancer go away, and sometimes it kills the patient. We have contradictory findings. Oh. The cell viability. So what are we looking at here? The cell viability, how the cells survived assay demonstrated that H2S2, which is that hydrogen sulfide, I believe that's hydrogen sulfide, had significant anti-cancer effects in hepatocellular tumor cells. What do I tell you about cell studies and the duration paradox? If it looks great in a cell study, generally it's going to be a disaster in real life. They're trying to tell you now that hydrogen sulfide is going to be good for you. They put hydrogen sulfide in the gas lines. So if there's a gas leak, you smell it. It smells like rotten eggs. Does that smell good to you? Do you think that are you attracted to that smell? Do you want to go eat it? So, lastly, according to the fact that HCC tumor cells preferentially take in cysteine due to a high expression of SLC7A11, a cysteine/glutamate transporter. Wait, these cells have a lot of cysteine transporters. Cancer cells have a lot of ALDH. Wait, it's almost like the cancer cells want to take in aldehydes, or they have a lot of aldehydes there, and they want to take in sulfur, maybe to protect the rest of your body. If you change your mindset about cancer and that cancer is an adaptive response to too much toxicity in your system, and your body's trying to compartmentalize the toxicity away from the rest of your system as best it can, and you're not attacking the cancer, you're not at war with cancer. Cancer is your own cells. They're not broken cells. They're storage cells. That's why they seem kind of dumb. Do you need your storage container to have a bathroom and a master bedroom and a closet and all? No, it is basically, it's a giant closet. It's meant to function as storage. It's a dumb room. These cells are dumb. Okay? That's if you're not trying to fight your autoimmune disease, you're trying to get rid of the toxicity that is eating away at your system. You're not trying to fight cancer. You are trying to stop putting the poisons in so that you don't have to make more and more storage areas. Can you shut this process down with toxins? Yes, you can stop your detox system and see the cancer slowly seems to go away, but then it comes back even worse because you stopped your detox for who knows how long. Just a reminder, Linus Pauling had prostate cancer. Then he started his high-dose vitamin C, and he got away with it for like 25 years. What did Linus Pauling die of? He still died of prostate cancer. I love when people say vitamin C cures cancer. It didn't even cure Linus Pauling. Yeah, he got 25 years out of it. Are people today getting 25 years out of IV vitamin C? No, they're getting like 2 or 3 maybe. So, Ramon's super chat. Thank you, Ramon. We have my bro and I have AUD. He didn't have to do a super chat to clarify, Ramon, but Ramon put alcohol use disorder as in they drink every day. So Ramon says, my bro and I, we've talked about Ramon and alcohol before. My bro and I have alcohol use disorder, are on a low carb, single ingredient way of eating, low vitamin A, and get a racing heart and pulse when we eat dense or filling food. Why? Well, I mean, first of all, when you eat a big meal, you need blood to go to your digestive organs in a higher amount. So you're eating a dense or filling food, and the blood is going to your stomach. Your heart has to start pumping harder. Now, if you tend to get symptoms immediately after one eats, can very commonly be linked to potassium deficiency. So if you're eating like single ingredient foods, like let's say a lot of meat, and you're salting the meat, then that's going to be a fairly low potassium meal and a high sodium meal that's going to possibly imbalance that. Could just be a bile dump. I mean, if you're constantly intaking alcohol, this is slowing over time. It's going to slow down it slows down your ALDH. ALDH in young mice was shown to speed up their ALDH. That's why it speeds up their detox enzymes. Their body can still ramp it up when they're exposed to poisons. And in the old mice, their ALDH slowed down when they were exposed to alcohol because they're old and they've been poisoned their entire lives, and their detox slows down. So this is why, like I say, the more toxic you get, the slower your detox system runs. It's shown in that mouse study with ethanol. So and this means if your detox system is slowing down, you're not detoxing as fast. So your liver is going to accumulate more toxins. You're going to make more toxic bile. What does eating trigger? Bile dumps. If you have leaky bile, which if you have alcohol use disorder, you're going to be leaking. You're going to be dumping toxic bile. It's going to be leaking back into your system. What's in toxic bile that can deplete potassium and potentially cause heart rhythm stuff like that? Copper depletes potassium. Vitamin A blocks potassium channels. Old vitamin D supplements that might be hanging around deplete potassium. If you dump a bunch of bile, any of these things could be affecting your potassium as just one potential thing. People who get tired soon after eating, almost always it's a potassium deficiency. But what does eating cause? A bile dump. I've also shown that drinking alcohol will raise the vitamin A levels in your blood. Those of you who are here and learning about toxic bile theory should understand exactly how that happens. You dump bile, it's got vitamin A in it. The vitamin A goes up in your blood. Your body preferentially stores alcohol. Do you know you can store alcohol in your liver? Ethyl fatty acid esters. just like retinol esters. They just add some words in there because, you could say retinol fatty acid esters, but ethyl fatty acid esters. They can still test you certain alcohol tests, not the breathing one, but certain alcohol tests. They can test you for like up to a week because you can store alcohol in your liver. Why would your body store alcohol in your liver instead of letting it run around your blood? Because alcohol is less toxic of an alcohol and an aldehyde. Alcohol is more toxic. Alcohol is more toxic than vitamin A. Alcohol and acetaldehyde are more toxic than retinol and retinaldehyde. So your liver makes a choice. It says, I can store the more toxic one and dump some of the less toxic one out in the system. Because your body always wants to choose the slow death over the quick death. It says, if I got to choose, I'll dump vitamin A, retinol into the blood, into the bile, into the blood. Because if I don't do something with this alcohol, you're going to die. Like, think of how quick you could kill yourself with alcohol poisoning. You could you could go do a beer bong of straight liquor and kill yourself in like an hour, right? You'd probably be dead within an hour. Do all that alcohol. So why would your body prioritize storing alcohol in the liver and dump vitamin A? So you don't die. But if you dump vitamin A into your blood, what does vitamin A do that I said? It blocks potassium channels. You can't get potassium back into your cells. Is potassium deficiency linked to fatigue and palpitations, racing heart? Yes. That's the most likely connection based on all the science that I have. Okay, so let's keep going on. Oh, I got the alcohol use disorder thing. Zendog asks, did not Mark Manhart talk about the upper front tooth gap thing? He used to have an interesting theory on it. I don't even know who that is. I don't follow people in the health realm. I do all this generally myself these days. So here's another Zendog comment. He says, wow, you cut out my sacroiliitis. Zendog had super bad sacroiliitis pain. So he said, you cut out my sacroiliitis and I never complained about my right shoulder. And yeah, that is getting better now too. See, I don't even have to know you have problems to help you fix them. It's all connected. This is the crazy thing. Like, people would be like, well, it can't all be one thing. And I'm like, it's not all vitamin A toxicity. It is all related to your liver. How did I cause my liver problems? Well, in the past, do the problems in the past matter? Or do we just need to know what not to put in so your liver and my liver can fix itself? That's all we have to do. Are there a lot of toxins to avoid? Is it just vitamin A? No, it's not just vitamin A. Is it just vitamin A and copper? No, it's more than that. You want to hear something funny? This is like my kids taking after me. I told my boy about how ladies and men, if you are wearing anything other than cotton as underwear, you're causing yourself problems. Stop using any synthetic fibers in your underwear, especially polyester. If you're wearing, if you're wearing no underwear, but you're wearing synthetic fibers as your shorts or your pants, then it's the same thing. It's just not as much contact. But anyway, so I told my boy, my 12-year-old, I said, he's like, why do I not want to wear these, like, the synthetic fiber ones, Dad? And I was like, go look up, go do some research. My 12-year-old, I told him, go do some research about polyester and sperm and all this stuff. And he goes and does it. And he's like, Dad, I want to throw away all my synthetic fiber underwear. And I'm like, nice. That's my boy. So we went and got him some organic cotton, all organic cotton underwear this weekend. So that felt good. Lead by example. That's what I try to do. Wait, did Emily say something about Emily Antiqua, she did that Substack that we read. I think it was just last week, or was it 2 weeks ago? Anyway, she said, I had so many vitamin A toxicities, but the one that fully convinced me was realizing that my unexplained sacroiliac joint pain from age 12 was due to vitamin A. How many of you have been going to see chiropractors? And I'm not saying anything bad about chiropractors. They can be super helpful. Some of them are just, they'll just rack you and crack you every week, and they'll just gladly take your money. But people in every profession can do that. But the sacroiliitis thing is, how many of you have, and we've all seen chiropractors, you go in and they do their testing and they do all that and they go, your SI joint's out. Your SI joint's out. And every week you go in, your SI joint's out on this side, your SI joint's out on this side, your SI joint's out. And then you want to know what happens to people on the program? They start going into their chiropractors and they're not out every time they go in, or their chiropractor's like, wow, your neck is usually out this way, but it's not this week. Huh. Weird. Oh, your spine is doing, you know what they say, because they want to take credit for it. They say, oh, your adjustments are finally holding. And usually my clients know, they're like, yeah, I took vitamin A out of my diet and I'm eating less copper and I'm doing soluble fiber and I'm doing charcoal and I'm doing zinc and I'm doing all these things. And then all of a sudden the adjustments start holding. No, here's what happens. Bones don't move on their own. Bones don't move. Bones must be moved by something. So if your bones are constantly misaligned, it's the muscles that are pulling them out of alignment. Why would you have the same pattern in a muscle almost every week? It's something biochemical pulling it out of alignment. Okay? Do I know why certain muscles do it and others don't, or why certain toxicity patterns do this and certain don't? No, I just know the major patterns. I used to have one of my worst things that put me into medicine was my middle back pain. Middle back pain. Nothing in the physical world in terms of like adjustments or joint mobility or anything, strengthening it, stretching it, nothing ever fixed it. I believe it was adrenal pain, referred into my middle back from my adrenal gland on the left side. The very first thing that finally got all that pain to go away, I think I've told this story before, was in the month of December, right? So it's Christmas season. I'm in like medical school, or maybe a couple years out of medical school. I decided to go, I saw a chiropractor did muscle testing. He's like, you should avoid gluten. You should avoid dairy. Oh, high vitamin A? Weird. And you should avoid nightshades. Oh, high vitamin A? Weird. I avoided them for the month of December, all through the holiday parties and all that stuff. By the end of the month, my middle back pain was gone, and I came out of the holidays having lost a couple pounds. It was great. And then what did I do? I slipped back into it because I didn't take it seriously enough. And then the pain came back, and I went, it is what I eat. This has nothing to do with anything else. And could I crack my back to, all the way, 9 ways to heaven? Yeah, I could crack my back all sorts of ways. Now that I don't eat this stuff, I hardly crack. And if I do crack, some of you know this, when you stop cracking and then you do the wrong things and you start cracking again, you know exactly what you did. You know exactly what you cheated on or what you ate. You'll be like, oh yeah, I had pizza or whatever. You know what you did. It's pretty cool. It's empowering. Okay, let me see if did I miss any super chats? Let me see. Wait, let me see. I can't see that. Well, there we go. So Zendog Breath said, Doc got me off my walker 4/15/23. So that was what? January, March, April. April 15th, 2023. My chiro is still trying to figure out why he was helpless on my SI joint. I ran by his office last week. This is what we do. People don't have to believe in what we're doing. I'm not here because I need people's approval. I'm kind of a contrarian by nature, but I only want to be a contrarian if it's helping my people. Okay. Now, I want to address something. Somebody left a comment on the ivermectin video. So if those of you who haven't seen it, the special episode that I did with Kelsey, who's I believe is in the chat today, or at least she was at the start, the special episode on ivermectin that I did with Kelsey, she re-recorded. I know she had some technical difficulties and, you know, microphone stuff and other things going on. She re-recorded her part, and my intro is still on there and the outro is still on there, and she just put it in there and she did all the editing and put it together so we re-released it. So if you want to see it without the technical difficulties in it, it's back up on the channel. Or if you want to show it to people, the old one's gone, the new one is now there. Somebody said that they felt like it was too long. I am here. Oh, and Kelsey says, please watch it. It's much better. It is much better. I'm going to, first of all, I don't tend to do what people tell me. That's just kind of my nature. So telling me to change my ways is probably not going to get the desired outcome. Second, we are here explaining this to people. So the person was saying you could have just said it was bad in a much shorter method. That is not what I do here. We are trying to change entire paradigms of medicine here. So I can't just say ivermectin's bad. Okay? That's what the FDA did and Fauci did. And that's what everybody did. They were like, ivermectin's bad. You should just believe us. And then that made the other side believe it was good. And you know what's happening now? We're showing the evidence to the other side that believes it's good, and they're going, that's all BS. That's Merck and the WHO saying it's bad. And I'm like, Merck invented it. It's their med. The WHO is now devoting money to study it. What? So we show the evidence. Kelsey showed it, and we're going to do more on P-glycoprotein inhibitors. You want to know what I found the other day, folks? This is how important. So this is why I'm so glad that Kelsey came into the circle here. She brought the P-glycoprotein inhibitors, the PGP inhibitors, and the MDR1 gene mutation. So you want to know what I found the other day? Well, let me find the paper. I have it on my phone because the one thing I love about cell phones is that I can just, if I get an inspiration all of a sudden, I can just look it up and I can find it on PubMed. So is this it? I think it is. Wait. It was, let me go here. Let me find it. So I'm just going to do a quick thing on it. When I found this, I messaged Kelsey. I was like, I found it. So my belief was that this was what I thought up before I even looked this up. And that's why I could find it so easily right now. It was that ALDH, when you slow down ALDH, the same things that slow down ALDH will also be PGP inhibitors. Okay, you don't want to inhibit PGP. You don't want to inhibit ALDH. So I thought, what if they're connected? And actually, I think I just looked up ALDH and PGP. And then it just so happened in this one paper, pretty sure this is it, inhibition, yeah, this is it. Inhibition of ALDH1A1 activity, which we don't want, the slowing your detox, decreases expression of drug transporters. PGP is one of those. PGP helps get these drugs out of your cells. It requires energy to get these poisons out of your cells. So inhibiting ALDH inhibits PGP and reduces chemotherapy resistance in ovarian cancer cell lines. Well, we want the poisons to work well. Chemotherapy, right? It's poison. We know it's poison. They want it to work better, so they're going to inhibit your detox enzymes to shove the chemo in more. Okay? But here's the important part that tied it all together. Let's see. Here we go. Atra, all trans retinoic acid. This is vitamin A. This is the active form of vitamin A. This is found in your body if you eat vitamin A. Atra treatment led to downregulation of the ALDH1A1, P-glycoprotein, and BCRP proteins. Where was the other one? Where was the other one? Let me see if I can find it. Where was the one about ALDH? No, there's one. I know it's in here. I think it's just higher. Somebody help me with this line. There's one where it basically says that ALDH and PGP go up and down together. Oh, here it is. It's you combine this. The most abundant expression of ALDH1A1 was noted in these drug-resistant cell lines. Wait, so you mean the drug-resistant cell lines had the most ALDH? They were detoxing the best. And then those cell lines also revealed the overexpression of PGP. More ALDH. So what do we see here? We see more ALDH, more PGP. And then down here, we see vitamin A treatment, all trans retinoic acid treatment led to downregulation of ALDH and PGP. So what do we do here to help people detox and fix their problems? We have them avoid vitamin A. We try to help them improve their ALDH speed. Minerals that help ALDH are like selenium and molybdenum. Boy, we never talk about those. And we avoid things that are aldehydes, like retinaldehyde vitamin A, and we avoid aldehydes like acetaldehyde from alcohol. And we avoid foods that are known to be high in formaldehyde, like shiitake mushrooms. And if you're going to eat tomatoes, cook the hell out of them, because uncooked tomatoes have formaldehyde in them. We go over these things. So in the program. Anyway, this is stuff we're going to have, like we may have another guest sequence or another guest episode with Kelsey going over PGP. We'll go over the stuff that I've found, because, I go and I find things in my style that Kelsey may have missed. And actually Kelsey finds things that I miss, and Kelsey educated me to this whole PGP thing. So this is going to show, like, quercetin, the alternative side's favorite bioflavonoid to shut down the coof. It inhibits ALDH, and it's a PGP inhibitor. What a coincidence. We're probably gonna find this pattern over and over and over again. Oh, and ivermectin does it too. What a weird coincidence that we're gonna find these patterns over and over and over again. Oh, vitamin D. Wait, let me go do this one. This one, now, once I learned about PGP from Kelsey, this one paper on vitamin D3 made so much more sense. Inhibition of aldehyde dehydrogenase 1 and PGP mediated multi-drug resistance by curcumin and vitamin D3. What are the alternative people love for you to take for anti-inflammatory? Curcumin and vitamin D3. So they're basically saying that curcumin and vitamin D3 inhibit your body's ability to detox. And they make it require more energy to do these things. So they can give you more poisons. We have to stop the detox or else the poisons won't work. Do you get it now? Chemotherapy, the 5th round of chemo was what killed my father. Did chemotherapy kill a loved one of yours? Feel free to say in the comments. How many of us have seen this? Nobody ever gets out of the chemo. I mean, we all realize that nobody ever gets out of the chemotherapy loop, right? You do one round of chemo, you do the lightest chemotherapy at the start, you can, and then they give you then it comes back and they give you a heavier one, and then it comes back and then they give you a heavier one, and then they're like, we can't go any stronger. Say your prayers. See you later. It's butcher. It's a butchery. It's just, it's the basis of conventional medicine is giving poisons to shut down your system in certain ways. That's what they do. That's the whole basis of Rockefeller medicine. Okay. So don't think that this new anti-parasitic medication for the coof is going to save you. The parasite thing is a fad. It's a total operation of psychology. They're not giving away Nobel Prizes to a medication to try to save humanity. And no one's like, just imagine if the bad guys didn't want you to have ivermectin. Remember, it's pharmaceutical companies making this stuff. Oh, you mean that it's globally dominated by China? Like the entire avermectin family, including ivermectin? The global supply chain is dominated by China. Did you know this? Do you think if China didn't want us to have this wonder drug that they just turn off the faucet? Why are they not turning off the faucet? Don't they not like us? Why are they giving it to us? You know, there's that Fent drug that seems to make it over here in massive quantities said to be from China. It's weird that these things all just, the supply chains for these two things aren't breaking down. They want you sick, dead, and infertile. That's what they want. And when I go over the studies, I think I went over the studies on ivermectin and sperm and testosterone. Which side had the higher testosterone that they gave these meds to? That they did the forbidden fruit thing with? Well, the higher testosterone side got duped into the drug that lowers sperm and testosterone. The other side took the jab that basically just shut down female reproductive systems. They got them both. Don't fall for it. Now, so one of the things that this person who commented about the ivermectin thing was upset about is he said, why don't you tell us how to fix it? As if I don't give enough information on this channel already. You want to know how to fix it? Go in the Love Your Liver program. If you're here wondering, what does Dr. Smith do for this condition? What does Dr. Smith do for this condition? What does Dr. Smith do for this condition? What makes my condition special? Nothing makes your condition special. You have a messed up liver and you have toxic bile leaking into your blood. We do the same general things to fix it for all the conditions. What do I do with the testing I do? We look at your specific nutrient deficiencies, mineral deficiencies, and we are able to pinpoint on those and make sure we're not giving you too little or too much. But like Emily Antiqua, whose testimonial I went over, I can't remember whether it was last week or the week before, she was doing the basic Love Your Liver program. Damaged herself with birth control pills like so many women and other things going on. You know, other meds and other shots and all that stuff. I had not even talked to Emily, you know, privately before she fixed all that stuff with the Love Your Liver program. on her own, just with the information I give in there, that's $99 a year. So if you want me to give it all away for free here, I can't. You don't have the time, and I don't have the time to go over all the information that's in the Love Your Liver program here. If you don't have the energy to the energy, as in money energy, to spare to fix your liver by going in the Love Your Liver program, I'm not going to do it all here for free. I like to feed my family. I like this. This is what I do. So sorry if I don't give it away all for free here, because fixing your liver is simple but not easy. And that's what we do. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. So y'all have a good week. I'm here to help people. So let me back this up. If you took ivermectin and you realize now that you got duped and you're upset and you want to know how to fix it, join the Love Your Liver program and do it. It's $99 a year. That is how I fix things for people who are not working directly with me. People who work directly with me, just so you know, you do a testing and consultation package with me and you get free membership to the Love Your Liver program for life. Okay. That's what we do. I'm going to be here explaining, I'm not going to just tell people vitamin A is bad, because then people are going to look at me like I have 2 or 3 heads. But everybody else says it's good. I'm here explaining why it's bad with science and logic and anecdotes and testimonials, because nobody would believe me if I didn't take the time to do this. I don't get to be a leader and just be like, copper's bad, and everybody will be like, well, all the muscle meat, or all the organ meat carnivores and all the Ray Peters and all the WAPFers and all the protocol people say copper's good. And I'm like, no, I get broken people from these groups all the time. And they finally realize that copper's bad. They realize they're addicted to chocolate. Mikey says that program is the best thing ever. Genuinely. I mean, I just want you all to know, I have decided, I finally came to the point. Wait, what is Emily saying here? I want to see the whole thing. Emily says, since working with Dr. Smith, her recovery has gotten even faster. Well, thank you, Emily. I appreciate that. And Emily and I just talked, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think. Anyway, this is what we do. I explain it in detail because I want people to understand why they are doing it. I don't want to just take up 2 or 3 hours of your time. I know there's plenty of podcasts out there that are 2 or 3 hours, and they're a complete waste of time. Some people, as you get the ideas here, they don't have to come and listen to these things. Some people do because they get nuggets out of it that they didn't even know the question to ask. And then I give them the answer to it and they go, oh, I was having that problem. Now I fixed that too. The solution is in not poisoning your liver, making your bile less toxic, and leaking less bile into your blood. Now we're adding, we've got the ALDH thing, we got Kelsey bringing along the PGP thing and the MDR1 genetic thing. That MDR1 plays into the PGP thing. That's the genetics of your PGP. So I want to do an episode with Kelsey so we can explain all this. And warning, it will probably be 2 hours. So if that's a problem, it's a problem. Anyway, so I'm going to go. Hope you all have a great week. We will see you again next week. Oh, Soil Food Web Warrior said LYL is the best money I ever spent. And yeah, Trusty Rusty says make it 4 hours. Sure. Yes. No, I'm here to help you guys. I talk a lot. Consider it a weakness of mine or a strength, whatever you want to consider it. It is what it is. It's how I do things. I'm not going to change how I'm doing it. I'm going to keep doing it my way until they, decide to shut me down for not towing the line. And then I'll be on whatever, Rumble or whatever. I'm still there already. I'm on Rumble. I'm on Odyssey. You guys can find me other places. I try to, if you notice, I try to choose my words very carefully here so I don't get axed. I use terms like they, and if you don't know who they are, they don't like you. I'm not going to say specific names. Oh yeah, NutriDetect on Twitter. If you didn't know how to do stuff on Twitter, if I ever post a Twitter link, go to nitter, nitter.net and enter the thread, the link, enter the hyperlink for Twitter or X into nitter.net, and it will show it to you if you don't have a link. But if you wanted to join X or Twitter just to look at my pinned thread, you'd probably get a lot out of it. And you might be able to share it with your loved ones and say, hey, this guy's got some pretty cool research. Okay. But again, all the links are down in the bio, the info below on YouTube. And yeah, I was going to do my thoughts. Maybe very soon I'm going to do preeclampsia and toxic bile theory. If there are other disease patterns, I just kind of come up with these things as I'm going along. But yeah, the connection between copper toxicity and zinc deficiency and preeclampsia and cholestasis, toxic leaky bile, was obvious. So anyway, hope you all have a great week. I will talk to you later. Bye now.